Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back, dear students. So today we are on the lecture 6 of the programming fundamentals course. In the previous lectures we were discussing functions, built-in functions, user-defined functions, and we discussed that we are going to do more and more practical examples of functions, especially user-defined functions that are written to solve real-world problem. So in this topic, we are going to uh, once again solve a real life example that you face in your daily life using the user defined function. So with that, let us start the part 3 of C++ functions topic. So once again we are going to study user defined function, and we are going to particularly solve a problem that will find a largest number among different numbers. So with that, let us move on and let us see the algorithm or the pseudocode for how to find a largest number from a set of 10 numbers. So in this programming example, the function larger is used to determine the largest number from a set of numbers. For the purpose of illustration, this program determines the largest number from a set of 10 numbers. So we have a set of 10 numbers, and what will be the set of 10 numbers is an input, whereas the output is the largest of 10 numbers. So with that, let us uh, divide this problem into different steps. So this is in fact called problem analysis and algorithm design. So we are at the problem analysis. We will be first analyzing the problem, then we will be going to design the solution for that problem. So suppose that the input data is 15, 27, 8, 28, 21, 43, 12, 35, 3. So we read the first number of the data set. Since this is the only number read to this point, you may assume that it is the largest number so far and call it as max. So we then read the second number and call it num, and then we compare the max with num and store the largest number into the max. So then we are going to compare the num with the max, and then the largest of these two numbers will be the largest number, and we will then put it into the max variable. So with that, now the max contains the largest of the first two numbers. So we then, after this process, we are going to read the third number, compare it with max, and store the largest number into the max. So then we are going to take the third number, we are going to compare with the max, the number stored in the max variable, and then the largest of these two numbers will be stored in a max variable. At this point, max contains the largest of first three numbers. We are going to repeat this process. We are going to read the next number, compare it with max, and store the largest into the max. Repeat this process for each remaining number in the data set. So this is the problem analysis and the problem design. So we are going to, so far we have analyzed the problem. The problem is clear to you people. Then what is the solution? What is the design? The design is that at one point we are going to take two numbers, compare them, and put the largest number into the max variable. Then we are going to take another number, compare that with the max, the number stored in the max, and then the largest of these two numbers will be stored inside the max variable. So this is the algorithm design, or the pseudocode, or the algorithm of our problem. So with that, let us split this problem into three basic steps. So we are going to read the first number. Since this is the only number that you have read so far, it is the largest number so far. Save it in a variable called max. For each remaining number in the list, so we are having several other number in the list. So what we are going to do, we are going to read the next number, store it in a variable called num, compare num and max. So if max is less than num, then num is the new largest number, and so update the value of max by copying num into the max variable. But if max is greater than or equal to num, we discard num, that is, we do nothing. Still max, the value contained in the max is the largest of these two numbers. Because max now contains the largest number, we can print it. So we are going to repeat this process, and then at the end the max will have the largest number, and we are going to show it on the monitor to the users. To find the largest of two numbers, we use a function called larger. So here is your C++ program that solved this problem. So what is the problem? The problem is that we are going to print the largest number out of 10 numbers. So we include the IOStream header file. We are using namespace as std standard namespace, which contains several objects and classes stored in one place. If we do not use it, then you have to write std before cout and scene, and that makes like your code a little daunting and complex and difficult to write. And then we have the function prototype. Remember, this is called the function prototype, which is declared, which is written at the top of the main function. It is also called function signature, and it is also called function prototype. So you call it function declaration or function prototype or function signature. It's okay, whatever you call it. So this function has a return type of double. The name is larger, and in parentheses we have two arguments. So it accepts two values. The first one is double. The data type is double, and it is x. The second one is y. It is also double. So we are going to store the value passed by call to a function in these two variables x and y. So we then start the main program. Now what we do, we declare two variable, num variable to hold the current number, and then the double max variable to hold the larger number. So we have these two variables, and then we have another variable, count. What is the purpose? Loop control. It's a loop control variable. So with that, we are going to tell the user to enter 10 numbers. So the user has entered the first number, C, in num, and then the num is stored into the max variable. So far, because we have single variable, so this variable is the largest, but we are going to accept one by one numbers from the user and compare each number with the value stored in max, and whatever is the maximum, that value is stored in the max variable. So we are going to use a for loop which has three components: initialization, testing, and incrementation. So first, in an initialization part, it is executed only once. So count is 1. Yes, this condition is true because count is less than 10. So what we do, we enter another number into this num variable. So then we call our larger function and pass these two values, max and num. So max has the first number and num has the second number. So the largest of those two numbers will be stored in a variable max. So this process will continue until you enter all these 10 numbers. So with that, let us see what is a larger function. So then at the end of the main function, we are displaying the largest number which is stored in max. We are going to the next line and we are returning the integer 0 to the compiler of our program. So then main function ends there, but remember that when we call this program at this point, the execution stops here. The control was transferred or navigated at this point. So at this point the instruction started executing. So this is a larger, these two x and y will store the value of max and num. So max, the value stored in max is stored in x, whereas the value stored in num is stored in y. So if x is greater than or equal to y, what does that mean? It means that the max is greater, so we return x, else we return y. So so this is the main logic where we are where we are deciding which of these two number is greater. So the value stored in max was copied to x and the value stored in num was copied to y. So we compare them. So if max is still greater than y, we return x. This means that there is no change in the maximum value and simply we do nothing. But if x is less than y, then we return y. So y becomes the largest. So if you run this program, so if you enter 10 numbers, this will give you an output of, for example, you enter these 10 numbers. So the largest of these numbers will be printed on the screen, which is 88. So with that, let us run this program on the code block. So I'm going to start code blocks. I'm going to also see our time. Okay, okay, everything is going fine. I think code blocks will take a little time. Okay, code blocks is running, that is good. I'm going to create a new project, file, new, go to project, and then select console application, select C++, and then here largest number in the list. Okay, next, and then this is the auto generated code. We do not want it, so I'm going to select it, delete it. I'm going to go to our program. We are going to copy this line, Control C, paste it over here, and then we are going to go back to our program and paste these lines. So now you have a complete understanding of this program. So that is why we are going to, and then we are also going to compile and run it. So let me first compile it, and there is no error, which is very good, and then we run it. So enter 10 numbers. So I'm going to first enter 23, then I'm going to enter another number 34, and then I'm going to enter 45, 67, 87, 67, and 98. This, and the largest number was printed, but because I just entered a number, so the screen vanished away. So with that, I am going to end this class. I'll see you inshallah in the next class. Till then, Allah Hafiz.